Hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody.
Yo, welcome to the show.
The early edition of Mind and Rise. I mean, Rise and Mind. I mean, mind your own rise.
Mind you,
Rise your own mind.
rise your own mind.
Make your mind rising or rise up. Make it up, higher. Create your own
Where is my
destiny.
mind?
Where is your mind?
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm gonna rise. I gotta rise my stomach the fuck off this corner of the table, man. Hey, I don't know. I'm sitting kind of weird today. I gotta get this place back from the remodel.
Take your mind to new heights.
It's like I'm sitting on the corner of a table. Sitting on the corner of a table. That's my new song.
Sitting on the corner of a table.
Yeah, that's like Thanksgiving.
Sitting on the corner of a table.
Yeah, that'd be a good Thanksgiving song. You know, Thanksgiving's coming up. Like
Table.
Like stuff's all out. Blah 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 blah. Grandma's house. Da 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 da. You know, this turkey's fresh and out. And it's like, and then I move around and I'm sitting on the corner of the table. Corner of the table. Corner of the table. Look at me. I can't grab the gravy. I'm unable. Sitting on the corner of the table. Corner of the table. Grandpa's up there telling old fables. Sitting at the corner of the table. Like feeling precocious or feeling unstable. Feeling unstable. You know, like it's just a shitty spot to be. Like you can't reach stuff, and then like people like, or on the other side they pass over you because you have like this much square footage on the corner, and your plate's like fucking teetering off. Oh yeah, corner of the table.
Corner of the table.
So I'm sorry for you guys who get stuck on some weird corner of the table this Thanksgiving. You know, like, or like if you're the stupid bastard who has to be on like a folding tray, just outside of the table, not even a kid's table, dude.
I'm gonna sing that song.
Hey everybody!
If I'm at the corner of the table, if I'm at the corner of the table, I'm gonna sing that song you just made. That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Can you pass? You got a corner of the table. It's like, can you pass the gravy because I'm unable, you know, to reach from the corner of the table, to reach from the corner. Yeah, it's just shit like that. That's it. Abso says we sound good.
Good. I feel like I feel good. I love waking up early.
Ow! I feel nice.
My whole brain is like buzzy. Good way.
Yeah. Oh man, you lucky son of a bitch.
That's just my. I'm a morning person. I'm one of those like weirdos that I will wake up, at like really early, like earlier than I should say. I used to wake up at 4 a.m. during high school.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy to me. It'd be like, bus would be like coming up the road. I'd be like, oh shit. Running up the dirt road. Donkey Kong.
Trying to wake up.
No, that would never happen. No, I'd just be like, Dad, take me to school. I fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, that used to help me learn though, too. Like I would not want to, like do homework after school. I would do it the morning of. I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and do my homework then.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life, dude.
I still do it to this day. I seem to operate better when I wake up early. I get up and I just start doing shit. Even today, I was like, I was up and I was trying to do like stuff, and then M messaged me like, "Hey, we're ready to do the show," and I'm like, "Oh shit! I'm going to put down this carpentry project and go do the podcast." Awesome. Well, welcome to the live recording of Rise in Mind, everybody. How was your week?
Sunday.
CP? It is Sunday. We don't usually do it on Sunday. We do it Saturday mornings normally.
Yeah. We're switching it up a little bit this week. Yeah, my week. Sorry,
That kind of
I'm a little dry. I'm not a morning person. My optimal hours are from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's like when I'm, when I want to go like do actual like work and get stuff done. And usually once a week, I kind of get into this all nighter thing. Yeah, or I go to bed really late. So if you were getting up at 4, I'd be going to bed at 4. And that's, yeah, I can do absolutely nothing. I can't wake up and do anything that requires like brain. I mean, I could do stuff, but I will do the show. Like I just woke up after a couple hours and just fart my way into it. And I, I, I,
hard
I
around
have
the house. There we go.
I, I have a really good knack for improvisation and just kind of going with stuff. And I could be in pretty wild conditions and just still kind of roll with it. But I can't even imagine, dude, that you could get up that early and just be like, I'm gonna do my math homework. Man, if I didn't do it to begin with, but I'd have to do that like in the class or something. Like to do it at school, or man, fuck homework.
I like we could already start the deep dive here. Education homework doesn't actually work, y'all. Homework doesn't teach you shit. I don't remember anything from any homework that I did. Homework was just there to keep you down.
Encroach into my time.
All they really wanted to
I'm
do
trying
was.
to leave this place, guys. I'm trying to get the fuck out of
I
here.
thought I was tricking the system by waking up early to do it. I thought I was like, they want me to not have fun after school. I'll show them. I'll have fun after school and I'll do my homework.
Man, you spiteful, petty bitch.
Wake up at 4 a.m. Just to mess with people.
That's wild. Yeah, I hated doing homework. I was just such a bad student when I was like, a kid student. And but I went to college later, and I was a much better student, and I did all my homework, and I did more than I needed to a lot of times to make up for the fact that I just had no, F's to give, man. When I was in school, it was just get me out of here.
Get me out of here. I
Get me out.
Well, I had the opposite problem. It's a similar problem, but also a little bit opposite. Where I loved learning and I loved like information and knowing things and learning cool tidbits about reality and life and so school was very much a there's a lot of duality for me. I both hated it and loved it at the same time. Like I hated being forced to do something, but then once I was there and in it, I was like, "Oh, yay, learning."
Wow, that's wild. I loathed going to school. I was in my own narcissistic vibe. Like I just wanted to live in a different realm, and I would just be gaming and watching movies and writing stories and drawing pictures, and that's just what I was interested in.
Inky,
I
what?
wish I had that drive now because I did it all the time back then.
He's actually looking at
I
the
was,
camera. Hey, Inky, you want to weigh in on this?
yeah, Inky.
What do you?
I was involved in a self-study for my entire adolescent schooling, administration, or academia, whatever. Inkydemia. There you go.
Academia.
Tell me what's up, Inky. You worldly scholar, you. All right.
She's speaking with her paw, and with her paw, she's saying, "I like this cap to this jar that was left on the desk last night." On it, trying to claim ownership.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have any action this morning. The cats
Your,
I don't know where they are.
your cats aren't acting at
They're not
all.
they're not
All
present.
right, we bring
They're
in
like
today's guest, Inky. I
yeah.
just made her.
Good evening, Professor Inky. We have to talk to you about the state of education. How do you feel?
Given
Yeah,
the
pretty standoffish in that body
the
language.
new guide language, the new guidelines in schools now, Inky would actually qualify as a teacher.
I just looked up and the cat was just fucking staring right into my
I
soul.
told you she's actually
I,
looking at the camera.
and I don't know if I'm ready for this. Yeah, you just go to sleep, Inky. Now you're making me sleepy.
She's
All right,
got the sleepy
I'm
eyes.
I'm looking at the Discord. I'm not gonna look at your cat.
Okay, I'm gonna make her
It's just
small again. Go back to your
hypnotized.
normally scheduled size,
Hypnotized.
girl.
I feel like the paparazzi's here. No, no, don't
Oh,
look.
don't. Well, do you want to dig into it? We can go into the breaking ground, and we're gonna talk about education today, about the state of things in school world. At least we're gonna talk about
State.
our experience. I'm not a teacher right now. I'm not. I know a few teachers. I know a few people who do work in schools right now, and they have some stories that I want to go over. And um, and I could talk
Yeah.
about my experience, which was ridiculous. I actually am pretty excited to expose some drama from the
Okay.
'90s.
Big expose.
But
Big expose.
I had a pretty
Feels.
standard week here. Just worked. I got some shit done. I got a door that actually functions as a door now. That's the new thing. Yesterday
Yeah,
I
man.
put a latch on that was the package that the latch comes in was sitting on my counter for 3 months. And then it only took me 20 minutes to do.
I bought like a new sink, a sink head for my kitchen sink because the handle, the main handle broke off, but it
Yeah.
doesn't leak or anything, and still has part of the like the little switch in it. I think you've seen this, and then you could just push it. It's fucking broken, and it's people are like, what the hell's going on with your sink? And some people figure it out. It's funny. It really shows what type of person you are with my kitchen sink, because you're either gonna go over and be like, I don't get your sink, and walk away from it. That's like, I don't know. I've seen people do that, and I'm like, you're not hanging with me when the apocalypse comes. Like,
That sink
throw
isn't
your
hanging
hands
with
up.
you.
Yeah, no, that type of person who's like, I can't figure out my sink. But then a lot of people like get up and they're like, oh yeah, I figured out your sink, and it's just a little switch. It's broken, guy. But the sink faucet head has been under my sink for 2 years.
Damn.
And damn, I think about every day. I could probably spend 20 minutes and put the new sink head on. Nah, what if it doesn't? What if I run into something? What if it becomes a 2-hour thing? And I'll make it a 2-year thing inadvertently.
Eventually.
I know I've had it for 2 years, dude. It's like, what am I doing? What does 2 hours or 20 minutes or any of that shit matter? Literally just sitting there for days on end. Too many rainy day projects.
I relate to that. I mean, my entire garage is rainy day projects, and dude, it was raining all weekend. I didn't do shit.
Yeah. Rain. Blame it on the rain.
Well, no, well, you call it a rainy day project, and then you say, "Oh, it's raining too much. I can't do my rainy day project."
Yeah. It's I think it's raining here, so that's why I'm gonna have a fucking nothing day. Oh, that coffee,
dude. Me as well. I plan to do. Well, I gotta edit the show when we're done here. Probably relax a bit before I have another live stream later today, which is why I try to do this stream on Saturdays. Because
fucking table.
because I have my art stream, my Space Sunday art stream later. 4
Hey,
4
no self
4
promotion.
p.m. to 7 p.m. on the Space Viking 42 channel.
Oh, I'm trying to get around the corner of this table a little bit.
You're doing great. Why are you sitting on the corner? Oh, so that you can see the stuff in the background.
Yeah, so the backdrop's
Yeah,
probably like it was more triangulated. I didn't want
yeah.
to like really get into the hall. But
I have a
dude,
solution for
I
you.
keep leaning forward on this fucking corner.
Are you open to solutions?
What, pulling the desk?
Oh, you go to the thrift store, you find a round table, and you take the legs off of it, and then you put the round table on the corner of your desk. You know, like an end table, and then now the corner of your
Ah,
desk is a round isn't no longer a corner. You have your own little table on the corner of your desk.
that's the most like college solution I've ever heard.
you would
Speaking of education,
you would
that's a college dorm room if I've ever
here's the
seen
question
one.
though. It doesn't matter if it's hackneyed or not. Does it work? Would it work? Would you feel
I
more like
mean,
you have
lots.
more control over your space if you had a round space instead of this thing jabbing into your stomach? Corner jabbing into your
Bro,
stomach.
lot lots of stuff works. The guy who used to run the video game store was all proud because he made a friggin' little gutter for his air conditioner that kept dripping on the customers as they came in through the door. And he made it out of cardboard and tape, and it was like the
Oh,
worst thing I ever saw.
it
And
worked.
he was so proud of it. Yeah, and I go, you couldn't have spent like 2 more minutes gotten a piece of PVC? No, that's good. It's all set. And well, when his new person came in to rent the space, and I was cleaning up front because I had to do some artwork on his building, I ripped that fucking thing down in anger. It's like, yes,
Finally.
yes, I could take this
Yeah,
friggin'
I'm not
rigged up thing.
talking some cardboard shit though. Like this would be nice. It would look really cool.
No, it's just a sharp corner. Okay.
You thinking about vintage, vintage end tables that have the round top, and you just take the top off of it? I think that'd look really cool on the end of your desk.
Well, this desk, I don't even know what the future of it is because I'm gonna work on those shelves over there, rainy day
Oh,
project, and then all of it will go over there, and then I won't have to deal with
well,
this monstrosity situation. I bought totes this
brains
week.
all my brain's all activated because you saying shelves made me think of what if your desk was a fold down surface like hooked to the wall so that
Yeah, this
whenever you came in to do your stuff you fold it down and you set up your stuff.
it's kind of like some of it, but it's more like I have a utility closet, and I'm gonna build some kind of door that's a little recessed, and so that recess is where I want to put the computer stuff.
Ah,
So picture this. This is nuts, dude, right? You open the door to the utility closet, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make it like half circle. So it's almost kind of like a little sci-fi, like your computer area is this like half circle that your monitors and stuff are on. Okay, so that's the door. And then when you open it, on the back side of the door is all your computer stuff. Because it's a utility closet, right? Because I've got the pump and the hot water heater. But what if I was able to open it and then all like the capture cards and a lot of the riggings and stuff were just in the wall, like built into like a grid, and you could just plug and play and move stuff around if you needed to. But it's all just housed on the back of this door, and then it's just the monitors and stuff out front, kind of free floating on mounts and whatever.
oh, I
So
like
yeah, I'm
that
gonna be
idea.
doing like real wild shit like that and building shelving in the walls for my art stuff. I want to have the shelf open and access some of the stuff, but I want to have parts of it open where I can just swing this little door over right beside me where I'm working, and it's like all the pens and the stuff I use the most, you know?
He's going crazy, everybody.
But yeah, that's all part of the plan, pal. But it's been part of the plan for a couple of years now. But it's starting to get there because I bought some totes and I'm picking things up. That's pretty much what I was doing for myself this week, other than going out and grinding work and working. I was finding jobs
I
and
get
working with
that.
the witch group. We're gonna have a witches ball like next year, a big official one. We're trying to get a hall.
Having a good time. He's having a good time.
Yeah, I ended up dancing with these ladies. It's pretty funny.
Shoot the
CP
star.
CP, man, I float. I'm the biggest, like lightest guy you'll ever see.
The biggest, lightest guy you'll ever see.
Yep, I'm just this
Man,
monolith.
man, oh man, that's awesome.
This big monster is coming at you all gracefully.
Ready to dig into this, dude? I think it's time.
Hey, we're talking about education.
We are.
We're talking about we
Don't need no breaking ground. Welcome to Breaking Ground. Break the ground.
Break in all the ground.
So in that song, now we're not doing another song analysis, but in that song, he does say, "Hey, teachers, leave those kids alone." And I think there's something to that. Kids feel, at least, well, I can only speak to my own experience when it comes to the way kids felt. Right, when I was a kid, school felt like I was being pushed under the rug. I didn't feel like it was valuable for me to go to school. I had fun learning, but it did not feel valuable to me at all. It felt like it was a waste of time. It felt like it felt like a distraction.
You were getting up at 4 a.m. and doing your homework. That seemed pretty involved to me. I was like, just fucking, oh, I didn't do my homework. I'd straight up just be drawing on my desk to be like, Mr. CP, have you done your pass your homework forward? I don't even know how it went. I'd be like, no. Like, did you do your homework? No. I didn't give a shit, dude. I didn't give any fucks about anything. Like, I was so turned off from society.
Like
I had very bad social skills, probably.
And then here's all the fucks, and they just never got together.
No, I think I really cared a lot when I was a kid, when I was a little kid. But then I died inside.
First, it was exciting. Well, look, think about the stuff that you got to do at school when you were little, and then think about how it changes abruptly. Suddenly, you have homework. Suddenly, you're being graded, and it's like, wait, why am I being graded now? I used to have fun here. I used to come here, and it used to be about getting together with my friends and hanging out and nap time, and all of a sudden, bam, responsibilities. Like 1 year you show up to school and it's all different, whereas the year before it was not. It wasn't like that. So I feel like that might be the biggest thing for me when I was growing up. I don't know how it is now. I don't know if there's a smoother transition now for kids, but I know in the 90s it was like suddenly you went to school 1 year and it was no longer fun abruptly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about when that actually was. Like the end of grade school? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, it's a kindergarten right up to I want to say like first year. Like when you say that you're a first year student.
And just to clarify, we're over here in the United States, and it's a little bit different. I don't know what I think. Grade school might be called like primary school in like the UK, but it's probably way different everywhere. But we had like a grade school that was kindergarten through 5th grade, and then we went to another building at least at my school for middle school, which was the shittiest one, I think, and that was like grades 6 through 8, and then high school is 9 through 12. That's a long ass time, dude. And a lot of it's just like alternatives to babysitting. Like
That's
You know,
actually the next thing I wanted to talk about in Breaking Ground.
mm,
School has been used for well, probably for since wow, 50s and on. School has been a substitute for childcare. Like instead of sending your kid to daycare, you send him to school and you're all set. You go to work, you do your work, you come home, your kids come home shortly after that. Or sometimes the kids come home and then you're not even home for like a couple hours and the kids are just home
yeah,
by themselves. Or they're home with
that's
whoever.
what I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
That's very much famous of my generation there in the 80s, latchkey kids. I think 90s kids were too, like where they just give you a key and you come and go as you please because
Sure.
they're not home. And, that's, it was fun. I didn't do shit. It wasn't like I was, oh yeah, I can do whatever I want. I would get off the bus. I live out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, I'm going to go watch Woody Woodpecker from, I
Woody
don't know.
Woodpecker.
I remember that kind of stuff. Let's go watch Disney Afternoon.
Mazel.
Wham wham wazzle.
Here's the thing that I really want to get in. Um, I feel like education and school in general, like the idea of going to a place separate from your home to learn specialized knowledge about the world around you is incredibly valuable. Like I don't want to mince words there. I feel like it's a very good thing to do for children. To expand their world so they get a better worldview. I think it's very good for them to encounter other people, like other kids from different families and different cultures, and actually get an idea of the world around them. However, um, a good percentage of people in my life, people very close to me, people I know very intimately, have been completely changed. Like, because of the public school system, they are not the same people they could be otherwise. Things happened to them in school that were life shattering. Things happened to them that were irreversible in some ways, unless you go to some intense therapy, right? It's like bullying, um, ostracizing, um, being singled out. I'm not sure what the
Yeah.
term is for that, but like being singled out for your differences, for things that make you different from others.
And not like, and then like you get to see this little tiny microcosm of humanity very early on in the weirdest kind of pettiest sort of ways where people today fight for different political, social, religious beliefs. That can happen when you're a kid, but I mean, it could be some stupid trend. It could be the wrong brand on a t-shirt. Like you
Yeah.
just start to see that people attack you for being different than them. I mean, if they're bad fuckers, like, and then some people never do that. And then you realize when you get older what that was all about. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
some people are just rotten. Some they have and they have reasons that they're rotten, because I remember a lot of kids growing up who were the bully type people. You'd come to find out later like they're from like abusive homes and things like that, and it's like changes your perspective on things. But yeah, and then you think about it, I'm like, man, some people were just very nice people, and I'm sure to this day, middle-aged versions of those, they're nice people. They're just still nice people. Maybe they took a turn. Maybe they went dark mode.
Maybe they took a turn. I mean, there's that can happen too. I mean, that sort of goes with the experience of school changing you forever. Maybe school turned you into the spiteful, angry person that you are now instead of a broken person, depending on how you react to those situations.
But it's weird too, because you have like sponsorship, because you have your your parents, or your parents' situation. Like some people people are raised in different family dynamics, and that changes the way your school experience is too. and things that happen to you at school get recontextualized by the people who are raising you, and then they change. It's really interesting to think about that. Think about it. You do something at school, you bring it home to mom, and then like mom has an example of something you've done, and then your mom would then say like, they try to probably reiterate what the teacher says, like, oh yeah, you probably shouldn't do this, but then there's some parents who'd be like, dude, don't listen to that. Like you knew what you were doing. Like just don't talk about it anymore. But that teacher's a moron. So I mean, like, see the different approaches. It's already framing that's kind of like anti-authority view right there. When people actively go against, and that happens a lot. My brother-in-law is a school teacher for younger kids, and it happens a lot more because they expect him to handle it all.
Yeah.
A lot of parents will not take responsibility. Like, no, that's for you to do. Because there's like, my parents weren't really like helping me with homework and stuff, and that's why I didn't really take interest in it. So it's your family dynamic plays into it a lot. And then their values kind of impact your relationship in the ways you're assimilated in school. And I find that dynamic really interesting because it's like, does school really shape you, or is it still just your parents, shaping you in their ideology no matter what happens? It just happened to a teacher said it, but if someone as a doctor or a stranger said the same thing, would your family grab it and then recontextualize it for you? Like, Dad, what does this mean? It's like, this means it's the world's bullshit. Hey, Dad, what does this mean? This means the world's bullshit. What does this mean? This means bull. And then it's like, hey, doesn't matter what teacher comes to you, and you're like, the world's bullshit. See what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter what the teacher says.
My T-shirt in kindergarten read, "No fucks to give." CP.
I don't know why I just. Oh my god! I don't know why I.
Did you just sing Kylie Minogue? He was trying to get oxygen for his brain, and before he did this move, this whole flex here, this Herculean move that he's doing here, then sucking in oxygen like, and then he's getting his himself charged to go, can't get you out of my hair. Dude, it was fucking crazy. I don't know why I did that.
So,
because Kylie Minogue obviously taught you a thing or two in your adolescence.
I think you're right about the parents constantly saying, no, that's bullshit what that teacher told you. All that's bullshit. Like, don't listen to them. And then the parent essentially completely derailing the kid's education because the kid wants to respect their parent, this person they spent like so much of their adolescence with before school even started.
Sometimes it goes the other way. Like, the teacher becomes close to a student and the parent looks like the asshole too.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes
the parent's like just so negligent that these kids latch on to a teacher because they need the support, or we always had like a cool, you maybe you didn't, but I feel like everybody had the cool guidance counselor. There's always that dude who was kind of hip, he probably did drugs when he was young and then got himself together, so he was kind of edgy, but said like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, dude, you can do whatever you want, buddy, that's awesome, and you're like, yeah, I want to hang out with that guy,
whatever you want.
I never got to talk to those guys, though. I always wanted to. I was good at keeping it on the low key as far as being like a dysfunctional kid. They can't know that you're like they can't know that you're losing your mind when you're drawn on a notebook. But high school, I got a little bit more spooky. But middle school was just that example of showing how.
Talking about you,
Greg. We're not talking.
Yeah, you are spooky.
We're not talking.
Stop. It's okay.
You're
Sorry.
allowed to be a little spooky, but
Sorry,
I probably shouldn't use those words. It's residual, Greg, from Halloween. I know it's almost Thanksgiving, and Abso was talking about putting up the Christmas tree today, and man, I'm second thought and guessing that. But
Christmas hat on Greg when when I put something up.
I got my Christmas hat right up there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be dope. Um, oh, Greg, you'll be
So
all
still
right.
got a little spooky
But
for you.
well, yeah, because in that time, those values that I was talking about, like with your family and like what mom and dad are doing at home, starts to become obvious that that's not happening at other people's houses. So that whole idea of clicking up with like people, finding your like tribe and your gang in school, it happens kind of throughout those years moving into high school because people are starting to realize like, oh no, I'm different than you and I'm actually going to say something about it. Like, you don't know why, but you know you don't gel with someone because someone has a different backpack
Right.
or so, and it's like, oh well, they have different backpacks because that one's a thrift backpack and that one's like the I don't know what
Oh, I
Jordache
think
with
what
those jeans, like some crazy,
you're getting
you
at
know.
is being shamed for your like the level of society that you're at.
Yeah.
And kids would do that to each other because they didn't understand the nuances of it. Don't understand the nuances. They just know that their parents gave them something nice and this other kid does not have something nice. So they must have crappy parents. I'm going to make fun of them for that.
You also you also hear shit too, which is awful. Like I just don't understand why we even do what we do because oh, now that I think about it, it's
Kids are
like
mean.
you
Kids are
come home
assholes,
from
dude.
you come home from like vacation, right?
Yeah.
Say it's summer vacation, and they have you do something like, "What did you do over the summer?" And I'd be like, it's so pathetic because I'd be like, "Yeah, I was playing the Adventures of Willie Beamish, and I got to go bowling for my birthday, and then we went to Reed State Park one day. That would be my story, like for the whole summer. It's like, well, big time. To me, that was fun stuff. Then someone would be like, well, I spent the first month down in my camp in Florida. We went to Disneyland for a few times, and Epcot Center and Universal, and then we went to this, and then I went to my uncle's boat, and we did this, and then when I came back home, I did a camp outage, and then we went to the Grand Canyon, and then I went to Nickelodeon Studios, and I was in the game with Mark Summers. Like you would have these students that would say crazy shit, and you felt like an asshole, because you'd be like, man, I was all excited about going to the park once, and they just like,
I didn't go. I didn't go on a big trip
yeah,
until I was 15. We went
yeah,
to
I didn't do
California.
any.
Ended up going to.
Wow.
Well, the reason that we were able to do it was because we had my mom's cousin up there. Was able to help us out.
Mm.
My mom's cousin out there apparently was loaded too because he got us VIP tickets at Flags,
See, I needed loaded people in my family.
and
They were only loaded on booze.
it was crazy to skip lines. In fact, me and my brother were so used to having to help others and like used to needing help ourselves that
Mm.
towards the end of the day, right, of the park, we were like, wait, these VIP passes don't have names on them. So we
You said
asked.
you said VI, dude. You said VIP passes. I know what you said, but I swear you're like these very P passes, very P passes.
These passes were so P.
These very P
No,
passes.
here's like I don't want to distract from what I'm about to say though. They they didn't have names on them at all. They didn't actually say like this belongs to so and so. So what we were able
Mm.
to do at towards the end of the day, the park was going to be open for like another like 5 to 6 hours, right?
So,
Oh, hold up,
so,
wait.
so make sure you. Oh,
All right, so so I'm gonna start my story over.
all right. After that technical
Yeah.
difficulty with your boy.
Um, I was we were at Six Flags growing up over the summer with my mom's cousin, and he gave us these passes that let us skip the line.
Oh, fancy.
And we were getting towards the end of the day where we wanted to leave because we wanted to go to a couple other places that day. And the passes didn't have names on them, so like we're not used to having like crazy money like that. And we gave these passes to another family that had the same amount of people in it as us,
Uh-huh.
and who had just entered the park. Like we were at the entrance looking for people just coming in, and we tried to find a family that only had the regular passes.
Oh, okay.
And we just this kid, God, we made his day. I just remember like so excited to be able to skip the lines.
Oh, I bet,
And
dude.
I feel like growing up without stuff does something to your brain that makes it so that you think about others who also don't have stuff, don't have enough. Or at least
Yeah,
that might come
you could
from
be.
being raised that way though too, because like me and my brother were taught to look in another person's cup to make sure they had enough, not to make sure we had the same amount as them.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there are people too who just were raised, I would imagine, with good examples of charity values and stuff. You know, people who did have a lot. You know what I'm saying? But still understood that there were people that didn't have as much, and I always think that's a nice thought too. Like there are people who didn't have to live the struggle to know the struggle, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there are some good people, and so you know a lot of times I'd get kind of like bitter about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The kid who was doing all that fun summer stuff, and but then as I got older, I was like, dude, it's not always the case. Like there are people who were broke like me too, who were horrible, and it was like that crabs in a bucket mentality, where they they didn't want you to succeed. They didn't want you to go further than them, and they were the people, even though we were all kind of in the same spot down here at the bottom. You know, they didn't want you to succeed, but then there were some kids that really had a lot of stuff who would be like, dude, you want this? You know, give you the shirt off my back. That did have that kind of kindness.
Yeah.
But it was hard to differentiate or even understand any of that stuff when we were young adolescents, especially, I would imagine.
Me,
School sucked, dude. I
yeah.
hated it.
For me personally,
I loved college though. I loved college, but
I didn't have a lot of those times where they would ask you what you did all summer. Thank goodness, because usually what I did all summer, stayed home, played video games, didn't really do much at all. That vacation I just told you about was the only one really. We had a couple small ones where we went to like, you know, we went to like New York or we went to like Connecticut, and you know, like we went to other states, but we didn't. That was the first one where we went across the country and went to like amusement parks and saw
the
things we
big
never saw
deal.
before. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And so I for one was glad that they never asked us like, what did you do all summer?
yeah, it puts you kind of on the spotlight, and it does start setting people apart, and it's tough because I would realize that my values, or the stuff that I held in higher value, was more everyday occurrence for a lot of people, and then the stuff that that was like completely out of my reach, my concept of reality was like the
Yeah.
normative life for them. Like I'd watch American Gladiators, on TV, and that'd be like my fun Saturday morning or something like that. And then you'd find out like some kids like, oh, I went to see the American Gladiators at the Universal Studios or wherever they had it. Like, that's a thing, dude.
I'm right.
Like, what? And it would just, you'd
Nearly
learn that there
forgot.
are things much bigger than you, and then it becomes very, it just becomes obvious. It's one
Dude,
thing I don't like about the reach, and the media, and then commercial and the internet. It helps. I don't know what it does for kids now, but it helps kind of like highlight that probably even more for kids, because there's like literal vacation pictures and videos, and they're all following each other on Facebook and stuff. Does it,
I'm just a little like, I think we might need to do a quick like a what it is segment though, because I'm getting a bit lost in the sauce. Do you want to go into what even is education, right? What should it be?
Oh yeah, we should define that. We got out of the habit of doing the formal definition on the breaking ground.
I do like the formal definition myself. Go to the
We'll
share
keep
screen.
Yeah, we'll remember to keep that in the beginning of breaking ground, because we normally flow naturally, I think, into it now. We have a decent segue from our intro that we forget some of those details, because we used to just
Here
be
we are
like
in Google.
clunkily be like, what is education, but we
I
get
learned
talking about,
something.
yeah,
I learned something recently. Apparently, if you're searching for information, you should go to Microsoft Bing and not Google.
that's yep.
Because Google is
Team
all
Bang.
ads now. And
Is it?
well, it's not all ads, but when you search for something, you have to scroll through like the first page and go to the second page to get anything substantial, because the first page is going to be all sponsored stuff, not ads sponsored, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
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 So what we're searching for is, what is educational? Process of receiving systemic instruction, especially at a school or university. The theory and practice of teaching, a body of knowledge acquired while being educated. Um, or an enlightening experience. People will say, like, I want to educate you. That's what they mean. They want to give you an enlightening experience. Sometimes that's what that means when they say that.
That's not what that means, to be like, I want to educate you, and then be like, you're fucking wrong, dipshit. That's usually what that means today, doesn't it?
No,
Let me
that's
educate
how it's
you.
taken. That's how it's taken, because people are full of spite and pride, and their people are sensitive. So instead of going, oh, this person might know more than me, we immediately get defensive and go, oh, they're just saying I'm dumb. It's like, no, they actually want you to enhance your life. They want you to become like above what you're
Oh, I
saying,
feel so close up into the screen. I got closer
especially,
because the ratio before. Now I'm like,
yeah,
fucking, hey guys,
hey.
can you help me get out of the basement?
But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, like a lot of the times a person will say, I want to educate you. They're not trying to say that you're dumb. In fact, it's kind of a compliment, because they believe that you can be educated. If you're beyond education, if this type of person gives up trying to educate you, that's them calling you dumb. They're basically saying you can't be educated. Like, that's what they're saying. That's when they call you
But,
dumb.
but a lot of people say that,
Yeah.
or give that though too openly, and I blame it on the internet, because people do that stuff People,
Yeah, the
hey,
internet.
guess what? Guess what?
What?
Internet. I'm gonna shout out to the internet.
We're on the internet.
I'm gonna go into the internet ether.
We're on the internet right
Into
now.
the internet ether. So a lot of you in the internet are big, gigantic, coward pussies. Oh, you little babies. And CP is a big monster. He's the devourer of worlds. I'm the devourer of worlds.
CP, I have to say that what you're doing here might not be helping the situation. When you see CP, when you deal with big babies, as you just called it, when you deal with people with the minds of children, if you immediately insult them, they're gonna immediately attack back and not actually think about what you're saying. They're just gonna be upset.
It's not true. I found a really interesting way to fuck with people. So it's a real dude. I seriously call out people's behavior now like a bit. I almost did it the other day at a meeting. I almost did it. We were doing a thing where we were all meeting at the hall, just a little side thing, and then someone like raised their hand. Everyone was talking. People were kind of talking over each other because
Right.
it's a shit show. It just is. It's a shit show, and so that can make even exploit it even further. Here's me, fuck CP, the observer, the jokester, the cynic.
Right.
My missus is out there talking because she's got a role, and and it wasn't even for like someone specifically interrupting her. It was just because it was chaos and a lot of cross chatter, and someone raises their hand. Have you ever seen this? Has anyone ever seen this move? Everyone's talking, someone raises their hand like this,
Yeah.
right? And raise for like, hey, you know, a good 5-10 seconds, right? Then they just start talking in the middle of it, and and I don't be like, I'm like, look at this motherfucker. I almost said, I go, look at this motherfucker. Yeah. Raise their hand for 5 seconds, gives them the privilege to just start interrupting fuckers that willy nilly. I almost just like in the middle of it where everyone's cross chatter, I almost just interject with this shit all the time. And I have to tell people like, no, I had this one guy who was like, oh, it's going to be a tough meeting. I go, nope, it's not. Manifestation is one thing, but when you can't go into things like that and you can't allow, when you're working with people, you just have to shut some shit down. So I'm always questioning things and I'll call some stuff. But the trouble is, I don't try to give unsolicited advice. I try to riff on you a little bit to let you know you might be fucking with the group or making someone uncomfortable. Or maybe you've got kind of an outlandish behavior that I'll make a joke of, but you're now aware of it. And I'm like the roaster of human resources. I should get a job for human resources and just start roasting people. But
like I do want to say though, like sometimes people will just bite you back. If you bite them, they'll bite back, and then it just becomes an altercation when it could have been an educating moment.
People don't bite me enough, man. That's why. See, this is why I say I don't like the internet.
Yeah,
because people do bite me on the internet, and I'm like,
or they try
it's like
to.
No, my parents. Okay, my parents have a Chihuahua, right? Yeah. It's a little rat dink dog, and I can honestly say, this is hard for me to say because I love animals. I can't stand that. I can't stand that dog. It's unruly and awful. It even like bites my dad. And when you turn your back on it, this little nippy Chihuahua starts biting the shit out of your heels. And I go, you're a big fucking dog, huh? Big old giant CP turns his back, David's up there chewing on Goliath's heels. Yeah. It pisses me off, and that's what I feel like the internet does a lot. You know, people that they say all kinds of stuff, and only a lot of it is true about education or a proper conversation, and that's enlightening. So that's where it doesn't work. But in real life, man, I can speak so centered and open and just kind of talk about common values. And people will kind of talk about their politics and religion in that conversation, but it's on a topic You have to find the topics that you both gel with, and that's the real education. When you walk up to Uncle so and so at Thanksgiving, it's not so much about like what we don't agree on. It's like, what do we actually agree on? Because that's kind of magic. If you're like, if I know you're way different than me, like view wise or religious wise, I would prefer to have a conversation with that person sometimes, just because that's the real education. It's like, where are you coming from? How do you come to this conclusion?
Yeah.
And the more you can kind of get at that. So fighting with people and being like, you're right, you're wrong, I like this guy, I like that guy. Because I worked out of a 2-year depression by having everything fall apart. Like literally, guy, like this is a terrible reality that I live in. But I also said I live in a tragic and horrible reality. And I wrote a narrative for myself for a while. Now, when things finally broke, and it can get worse and worse, and I'm trying to say it's not going to. I'm trying to say it's plateaued, and this is where the success moves forward. And because I told myself, I go, you're never going to write your story of your own personal betterment or other people's betterment unless you actually do that. You have to do it in yourself, or there's no story if it's your story. So like this is the deal. It's like we have to grow. And I didn't mean to say it's all about like you got to get out there and do the community. I started doing this stuff when I was about your age, and it was very small. And some of it was through like civic engagement, going to college and stuff. And I learned these things that I liked and got involved with things. And the university was able to connect me with some things. And then I got out and I worked with an old professor. And I just walked around. And dude, I was an alcoholic when I got out of school. And I was a mess. And because I was doing like work and hiding in my own studio, closet drinking, I ended up going down to bars and then heard like, oh, there's this place like, oh, this is before my studio. There's this place that is a co-working space, and it you can do art in it and get a spot. And that's what got me downtown for a couple of years. That's what got me on the Alliance board. So it was like it was a long process of discovery. But that's just what I'm trying to stress now. The importance of education isn't always going to be math and the state of education. This is part of it. We
You're
watch
right.
people. We're
You're
like
right,
TV
but
show.
can I-
Am I giving people different perspectives and maybe challenging some of yours, and you challenge mine?
Yeah, I
And
mean, let me just take what you just said and run with it a bit. We did define education to a degree,
Mhm.
but then you immediately said right after the process of receiving or giving systemic instruction, especially at a school or university. Then there was additional meanings.
yeah, look up systemic. Like that's the thing
Like
that probably kicked it off.
no, it was the enlightened experience part. Like providing enlightened experience as being education as well.
Yeah,
That was
that
where
part.
that part was the part where we started to go down the road of more of a like the that's what ended up with the military conversation. Can't remember what the connection was to that, but I know it was like a I'm right, you're wrong kind of trying to enlighten someone, like force enlightenments on someone. And then someone says, I'm going to give you an education, like
Yeah.
more of an aggressive stance. And, but based on the actual framing of what an education doesn't happen unless you want it to. You have to
Mhm.
want to be educated. You can't force enlightenment on someone. You can't force systematic instruction on someone who want it. Like people can educate themselves pretty easily. They want it bad enough. And that's
Mhm.
kind of what I really wanted to get to general as our subject. So you definitely are onto something there where I didn't I didn't get educated from school. Like you remember I said I would wake up at 4 a.m. and do my homework. I only did that to get out of doing it. I said if I just get it over with, I'll have the homework done. I go to school. I don't get in trouble. School gets over with, and then I have my night to myself. That's when I would look up stuff about planets and galaxies and black holes, and
Uh-huh.
I educated myself on shit that I really cared about after school, not during. You know, school was school. I think is a glorified daycare at times, and we don't
Oh
pay,
yeah,
and
oh yeah.
we don't pay the teachers enough to do that. Like we shouldn't be expecting teachers to be taking care of our kids for us and teach them at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like
Hey,
the
love you,
education
Taryn.
system.
Have a good afternoon. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry, I just want to say bye to Taryn
Oh yeah,
real
have a
quick.
good
She
one,
was
Taryn.
peacing out.
Thank you for hanging out.
Um, Taryn's a legend. Yeah. Um, you do learn things. I think like I was fully rejecting like
Oh,
so much
are
stuff like,
you
oh, I don't care about math, I don't care about
are
that,
you talking
I just
about
want to
how
learn how to draw and quote movies, you know,
oh, for a second
like
there.
how you learned about space, like
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
it's like you it's like I always, sorry, the pump's running in the
No,
background.
I just
I
thought you were talking about for a second there I thought you were going to talk about how you learn more at school. For me, school was more about the social aspect, learning more about interacting with people. That's what I learned
Yeah, I
more
wasn't good at
about.
that.
I learned more about that than the actual subjects at school.
Yeah, and that's part of, I think, what school is, right? um learning what you gravitate towards, what you like. I mean, I was always gravitating towards art. I
Yeah.
always knew, and I was good at it, and the teachers were like really impressed by my drive, so that became something that I knew I wanted to do, and I carried that education forward to sometimes the detriment of the rest of my studies, and I didn't always make the greatest decisions. And honestly, in high school, I don't know if you knew this, but like right at the end, I got so fed up with the small mindedness of the town and how cruel people were sometimes, that I'm a rebel, dude.
Yeah.
I go fuck this, and I quit. I quit school. I didn't graduate with my senior class. I left, and I took a couple years away, and I went to an adult education program, and I'm glad I did that, because and I did that, and I
I want to
graduated with a
know.
friend of mine.
That's huge. I want to know more about that perspective because I think that's not rare, but it's not well known. The process of quitting school because you're like, "F this," and then coming back being like, "Wait, there was value there," and finding the values. Tell me more about that.
So what happened was exactly what you were kind of saying earlier. There was a futility where it's just like, oh, I just want, it's impossible, or I don't want to do this anymore, or we want to move into, and it is what it is. It's hard to go forward.
Yeah.
So I got to this point where I was more concerned with drawing. I didn't I didn't really like being around all these toxic people. I didn't connect with a couple teachers. I was like, that's cool. I noticed I think I was starting to like history, but I didn't even like history then. I was decent as a writer,
Yeah.
and I was given attention for that, and I was given more attention for my art, and and I like to mess around with a video camera sometimes. So I knew, and I would have liked to sing. I would have liked to do stage stuff. I would have liked to do drama. So come full circle, I'm finally doing performance. Finally, in my 40s. It took that long, but it took, I may not have the confidence then, but I was able to know that that was a passion of mine from school. Now things just got too toxic, and I was like, I just want to do what I want to do. And full disclosure, started meeting the edgy kids. You know, I was a poor kid like everybody. All the poor kids end up in the same classes. We didn't get a lot of extra school education. We weren't in preschool. You know, we weren't. You know, there a lot of us were held back in, not by a grade, but like I honestly, this is crazy. You want to hear this? I wasn't smart enough from kindergarten to first grade. So I had to go in this thing T1 with all these other kids that I'd end up having classes with for most of my life. And it was like this in-between thing. I was so unprepared because there's a huge devalue of education in my family. It wasn't valuable in me, dude, because it wasn't valuable in my folks. And it's not nearly as valuable to this day. And so you can see, like, by the time I was a senior, I didn't value education. I wanted to draw. I wanted to hang with the smoking kids. I was never that great at school. I didn't think I had it in me.
Is that why you quit?
Part of it.
You quit because you didn't think you had it in you? I thought you quit because you were sick of it. You said, fuck this, right? But it was deeper down. It was the confidence thing.
It was part my confidence. It was part the social aspect of it. I didn't like being around the people. And then I was like, where are you going to go with this, man? What are you doing with all this? Like, just leave. And I moved. I left home. I just got tired. I literally got tired of everything. I was 17 years old, and I go, I'm done. No school. I'm leaving home. I moved in with my girlfriend and family. It got really insane. And then we got into a lot of partying for a while. But then, you see, I realized my life.
I just did it, and it was hard.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
My life started going down the shitter because I didn't think there was anything that I could do for this world. And I started my life believing that I had absolutely no value. I have no value. I have nothing to contribute. I was a different person.
That's kind of what I was feeling like about the community stuff, actually. Funny.
Dude, I wanted to drink myself to death and die at like 20 years old.
Maybe I wasn't that far.
I watched my friends just die one right after a fucking another. Like, really just partying people that were destroying themselves, people that were getting killed in car crashes left and right, people that are becoming paralyzed. The guy who used to bully me and stuff, this super strong guy who became an Army Ranger. Next thing I know, everything changed. My community was eroded. And then continuing on there, dude, every year another one dies. Yeah. Nobody's even alive from that fucking community anymore. Dude, that's where I was. And that's where I was that's where I was going. It's horrible. Yeah. So I go, I'm going to go to adult ed. I'm going to go get my diploma. I can at least feel confident that I got a diploma.
Like, you wanted the sense of accomplishment?
I needed to believe in myself again. I needed to believe that I could do something, and there was some hope for my future. So I really tried, and I did that, and then I was just kind of free. I was like, just do whatever, go with the flow, kind of how I am to this day, let things kind of meander. And it did make me feel better that I did that, and the occasion of it was life-changing for me, where it was like, yeah, you can do a thing. Flash forward, dude. I meet Em right after that. You know, when I went to college, I was like 30 years old or something. Right. And she was going to college at the time, and she goes, why don't you go too? And, like her mom was saying, like, yeah, you should go to college. Dude, there was no fucking way I was going to college, like financially or any of that stuff. I didn't think that was obtainable. I didn't think I could do it. I was almost in tears over that, dude. I didn't think I could do it. And guess what? Abso said I could do it. She goes, education's important and you can do it. The stuff I never heard for my whole life. And I go, all right. And I graduated with nearly a perfect grade point average. I was honors president. I was in the civic engagement, and that got me into community-oriented stuff. Like, it changed my life. I went from this person who was basically going to be dead in a year or two, and had to reformat my whole thinking throughout my entire 20s. Work during my 30s, have a complete nervous breakdown because I didn't think I could do it in the middle of it. Relapsed to drinking after 16 years, and then I had nowhere to go after college and didn't know what to do. But I stuck with it, and it was very difficult. And after the pandemic, I had a midlife crisis, and I'm just getting out of that stuff. And it's financially a tough world that I live in these days. But you know what, dude? I make it happen. I don't know how I do it, but life goes on. And I always thought it's all going to end and I'm never going to be anything. And maybe I'm not huge. Maybe I'm not like some artistic character that leaves some kind of big legacy that makes it in the textbook. But I painted on a wall.
Yeah.
I painted on another wall. Little kids see that. Little kids learn that it's all right. They learn value and stuff. I'm putting value and I'm educating if I can. Like it.
Yeah.
I have a very fucked up education
So you
story,
want
but it's a rags to riches tale, really.
Or are you saying that your value in education changed after you got your GED?
It didn't. It didn't then. It changed. It changed when I went to college
So
and had
college-
the confidence and
College
started
made you.
to.
Sorry, I want to make sure I understand correctly. College made you want to educate others.
No, I think I was always predisposed to that, especially through like when I was going through like substance abuse issues, because I went through those programs, and that's a very hard thing to get into because like you want to help other people in the program, so it's a form of
Yeah.
education where it's like, oh, I want you to get better, but like at the same time, it's the same ideology. Like I'm not. How can I do it? I'm sitting beside you in an AA program. How do I have all the fucking answers for you, right? Like you get hung up, and then I had a guy tell me, well, you can't. Sometimes you want to. You can try. That's what you can do. But don't get upset if they go back out and they drink and stuff like that. And I used to sponsor this guy who's now dead now. He moved away and drunk himself to death. I didn't save him, but I tried for the moment to, and he was tough to deal with. And I can't save anybody, dude. I tried to tell my friend Brittany to get counseling, and 2 weeks later she blew her head off, dude. It's horrible. Like you can't save. You're not going to save everybody, but the point is you can try. And thankfully I tried. And my wife, I don't know, she's done a lot of things for a lot of people. But dude, I can say like I don't know what that future is if I didn't have a person say, get an education, try this out. I learned about religion. I learned about all this stuff. Like we value education. We hang around with people who value education. That's how I know this garbage in my head. I'm talking about it all the time with everybody.
Yeah.
And now education, knowledge is one of the most important things. Ask people their names. Ask them what they do. So that construction guy, you can be like, hey, PJ, what's up, Christian? I remember their names. I met them 2 weeks ago. Curly-haired guy with Christian. They work for the state. They're working by my mural. Like when I see them again, I'm going to remember their names. These things are important to have in there because not only they make people feel valued and good and show them mutual respect. Like I remember your name, and people be like, oh, who are you? Like people don't even remember what I look like. So many people just, I try to give everybody the same due respect and remember them. And that's information and that's education. That's a huge value.
Yeah.
And so I value any piece of information that I can retain to try to help. And I'm not perfect. I mean, like, I kind of fucked up the flow of things in the editing perspective, and that's fine. I gained a huge. I think I created an art piece, but maybe I'm just like riding some god complex or something. But I saw something really profound in the way
that you messed
unfolded.
up. I don't want you to feel like you messed up.
Well, there's different realities, dude. In the scope of how you wanted to edit the process, I messed up. It's just it affected you, and I am clear on that now, and I understand that, and I'll always understand that, and I know that that's something that impacts you. Now I can choose how I handle it, like in the future.
I do appreciate the understanding. Like I definitely do appreciate. understood me, but I also don't want you to feel like we're being worse. It's not like it's worse, like you haven't messed anything up. It's just more of a like I just wanted you to have the perspective and definitely understand it from what.
Oh, I've heard it. I've heard it before, and I know there's. I've 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 gotten a little bit like I don't get it kind of mode with that. It's like the tech side of it. I'm like, everything. It's like I know it stresses you out, and I know a lot of times you get like fixated on things and moving screens. And honestly, like it drives me nuts because I know it's unfocused, and I know it's being focused on something that might actually be upsetting you. That's not really.
Yeah.
It is linked to me and how this thing's going, but I don't want you to get preoccupied with the minutia, the details of the process. But you're going to, because I don't do it. I can say that, but then I can say like, oh, well, that's not fair for me because you actually do it. Like I can understand your point of view, and like I appreciate you not wanting me to feel that I messed up, but I still feel that way because in a way it did impact a thing. We had dude, it got real messed up once we got into this. Like if you didn't if you thought it was fucked up towards the end of it, it got really fucked up because I think we added a whole other half hour onto it.
You're right though about this being part of education though, us being able to have this civil manner is because we're educated.
Yeah. And it only continued to spiral and sabotage. Like it's meant to be. Like whatever vibe you and I are on, whatever's going on in our fucking heads, whether you're I know I'm probably overtired. And then I know and I haven't had breakfast. So there's like these elements of things that are probably throwing us off.
I'm worried about I've been releasing episodes 4 days late, and
I mean, I don't think people are chomping at the bit, buddy. Like I think
if
people watch
that's the whole other side of it. I think you're right.
Bro, I can't keep up with our episodes.
I wish people
can't keep up with our episodes.
I wish people were chopping at the bit. Like I want them to be, and I feel like if we were, that's just a wish. That's a wish,
Yeah, you could try different things, but I don't think. I mean, I don't think that that's the ultimate end all answer. I just, yeah, that's just a hypothetical, man. That's something we can't know right now. We can try to impact that, but I don't know exactly if it'll work. But I do think it became art. We just did art imitating life kind of thing. Yeah, like it was really weird.
It's like we don't have to go into that again. I just want to touch on what you were talking about, how education definitely, how you've tried to educate people won't work, and then really shitty things can happen. Brittany, I just don't want to distract too far from that subject.
And you know what the crazy thing about Brittany was? She was like crazy genius. She valued education and history.
Wait, I was just about to.
She would monologue just like me, dude, and it was annoying. So I know how bad it is.
I want you to go deeper into that even, but I want to.
Oh, okay.
Let us go deep dive.
Are we in the dive?
Are. Oh, wait. Picking me up. I don't want the gain to be out of control. Turn it up a little bit, I guess.
Anyone in the chat, did that fuck it up? Let us know.
We are in the deep dive.
Down in the underground.
I've also done that as well. What happened to your friend Brittany? I've encountered people that were very intelligent people that I tried to help. In high school, I was part of peer outreach. My fellow students nominated me to be their spokesperson as part of a suicide prevention initiative that the school put on.
That's awesome.
and it was on.
Not awesome that you have to
Well,
do it. It's just awesome that you did.
I was honored that they felt like I was easy to talk to, and that like that was one of the criteria, that easy to talk to, someone who you feel class, and I was like, damn, that's quite an honor. And then we did end up saving like 2 or 3 kids by my standards. My standards were they thinking about doing it? Yes. Did we convince them not to? Yes. That was a win for me. But there were some students that went a different path. Like we convinced them not to suicide, but one of them was actually a very good friend of mine, and he ended up like getting really, really far down the hole with drugs. Never really came up from it, and they downstate. And I just never heard from them again. And another one I did hear from, but not in a good way. Another one, the same thing happened where they ended up, instead of finding things to live for, they just ended up getting deeper into drugs. And he didn't text me. His girlfriend at the time texted me asking me if I wanted to like have like sleep with her in order to cheat on him. And I was like, wow, he's really not associating himself with very great people.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not doing that, and I'm gonna message him about this because that's not okay. Even if he's like high off his ass all the time, it's still not okay to cheat on somebody.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
So
I agree.
I never heard from them again after that. But
Yeah.
it was still like a wow. I tried to help these people, and I may have just convinced them find other things to live for,
Mm-hmm.
and those things were less healthy for them than things that I would have wished for them instead. And yeah, sometimes educating someone about life and the world around them can bad. Sometimes it can be worse for them. In that case, I don't know if it was the case for Brittany or the guy you sponsored.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, the guy I sponsored was just a friend of a friend, and I think we kind of drove each other nuts, and we were just in an AA program together,
Yeah.
and it was just the right thing to probably do because we were associated, and I ran into him, and I was like, yeah, and he was going through some shit, but it was one of those things where you could tell when people are really really bad off, when people are not receptive, and he'd just like go to a meeting, and then 2 days later, he's back on it, and I'm trying to get you to do stuff, and that's actually the person that went up Mount Washington. Probably some deeper theme and why I chose Mount Washington for the Dreamers Arcade,
Maybe.
because there's probably something in there, but we'll see when I dig up the timeline. And yeah, I couldn't do anything. And as for Brittany, I tried to give advice, but I was also going through my own shit, and I I made mistakes, and I was a little open with an kind of an argument or a perspective, and I mentioned something to somebody, some pretty open, that I probably shouldn't have, and she got kind of upset by it. And so when she randomly came up to this house that we were all staying in, kind of a nerd party thing, I wanted her to come hang out, and there's a recording of that cast that from the last night she was alive. It's crazy how the future works.
Damn.
But she got really drunk. She got into a freezer and drank all one of my friends' like bottles of whiskey, like without asking, or she wasn't well, and she wasn't well leading up. I know in hindsight, and she did that, and she kind of liked one of the other friends, the friend I was kind of streaming with, and I was, this is insane, dude. I was probably taking a shit And I could hear her in the kitchen being like, oh, I can't believe, CP said this, and I didn't want him to talk about this. But she was really drunk and bringing it up if she didn't want it brought up, right? And I was like, what's going on here, man? And I knew that she liked him, and it was like she was being inappropriate at this place she had never been. And she was kind of like our friend, and then it's like people are sleeping now, and I felt like stuff was getting loud, and that's one quality about my friend. She was very loud, and I was like, geez, oh no, what is going on here? And and I go, she's like leveraging this thing selfishly. And I found out in hindsight, stole people's alcohol, and then she was trying to get my friend into bed, and she pursued him even later. And she was using that information to try to, I think, make him feel bad. And she was essentially demonizing me.
Wow.
And I was really upset, and I came out, and I just walked out into the living room through the kitchen, and I already saw Abso picking stuff up. And she went over and she said, this is very inappropriate what you're doing, and we're leaving. And the last thing Brittany and I ever said to each other, she came over and she said my name, and I go, Brittany, get the fuck out of my face. That's what I said. Just like that, I go, Brittany, get the fuck out of my face. Just calm like that. I just had to let her know that, like, please. And I left, and Abso left, and we talked to the other gentleman involved, and sorry, man, I was just trying to make my pizza rolls, dude. I was gonna fucking go to bed. This is getting kind of wild. I'm like, is it okay if, like, you're gonna look after her? She stays here and stuff, and like, I don't want to wake people up. They had a roommate who had to get up really early, and I was like, I'm new here and shit, and like, I don't want to upset the people that live in your home. So we're removing ourselves from this situation, but look after her. And apparently, one of the house owners caught wind of it, and he was kind of upset by it, and he's like, yeah, you need to leave. And she took off, and she wrote a bunch of letters to people. That was the last day she lived, and the last time that I got to speak with her. And there wasn't anything I could do to help, and I felt really bad because, like, my friend joked with me. My friend joked with somebody. He's like, you murdered that person. Great, you're a killer now. Like, I have some really blunt friends, and it's like, yeah, I kind of felt like that. Like, M felt like that too, but it was premeditated. Medicated. I wish she had medication, but it was a long time coming for a lot of reasons. And she was staying with her sister, and her sister said, yeah, don't blame yourself. This was something that was out of everyone's hands, and there wasn't anything we could do. And I definitely didn't, for someone who wants to help, I definitely didn't fucking help. And I have to live with that. I have to live with the last thing. I wish I told her I loved her. Not get the fuck out of my face. I don't say that to people. I was really hurt. I had been spending the last 2 months with her, and she would come and visit me at my studio, and we'd paint together. And I felt bad for maybe like saying like, hey, we shouldn't say this anymore because it's triggering for my friend. And then she was like, I didn't want you to tell him that because she liked this guy. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to help. I don't want you to have to deal with this, and I want people to know clearly. And it's because, I really cared, and I did it in probably a weird way or blunt way, and we all maybe don't do things exactly right, but it just hurt me when it was brought up again, and it was used in kind of an unusual way. And like I said, there's a level where things get inappropriate. Like when I was talking about with your uncle, it's It's where like things get belligerent, and if someone's being loud in a house where people have work in the morning and they're trying to sleep, and they're kind of sexually harassing my friend who has a girlfriend, and it's creating a scene. And then in hindsight, I found out she drank all the other guys' whiskey. She was impacting multiple people, and the house owner was like, "Yeah, come on up." He's just like me, and well, she was just like, "Yeah," and it was bad, and I felt bad that I put other people in a situation. I didn't know that it was bad, but then like my friend's dead, and damn, I miss that kid. She was awesome, and think about her all the time because this is about when she died. This is it's probably been about 3, could be 4 or 5 years now. But and you know what? When this all happened, here's another thing. Sometimes you want to do the right thing. I tried to reach out and ask people, like, because this was crazy. One of the guys who's directly impacted, he said, thanks for reaching out. This is fucking with me bad. I feel guilty. I feel like I'm kind of responsible. The other guy into it. And I'm like, dude, you didn't do anything. Like, you were just at home. You were just playing a video game. You were just going to eat some pizza rolls and go to bed. This thing had nothing to do with you. Like,
right.
you did the best you could in an unstable situation. But see, that helped him. But
right.
the other people got mad at us. They go, "Oh, why? It's inappropriate. Why would you even bring it up? I don't want to talk about this." Other people were just like, "Oh, let it go. Let's just move past this." Like, really cold, like immediate responses to things when it first happened. And these are the moments where I realized you have to do what you think is important, and that's all you can do. Like, I made a friend comfortable while simultaneously making other people uncomfortable. But I guess making that person comfortable who directly dealt with it versus people who were just kind of stand by and didn't want to acknowledge that any of this, just closed the blinds to it all. They don't want to think, contemplate. Yeah. They just want to. I can't ever change their mind, and it was hurtful too. It was fucking really dismissive. Like, get over it. It's like, she died 2 weeks ago, dude. I've been trying to get over this for years. Like, and not everybody's there for you, dude. Like, it's just,
it's like you tried to, that situation that night. I hope that you don't take it too personally, because it's causality. She would have probably been there without me, but I just didn't like that I was there at the end. It's hard to, it's just hard to, and I've talked to a lot of people about it, and they're like, yeah, don't blame yourself because it's inevitable and this and that, and like the chain of how things went. It's still like embedded in my head forever. I can't erase it. I can hear her say it the way she said my name, and where she just instantly turned and walked away, then just kind of stood in front of the counter and leaned, and then like she just was out of it. I saw her dissociate and get into her own kind of self-loathing. I've been there before, and I see it all, dude. I can hear it all. I can hear the sounds through the door. I can have the conversation out in the misty rain with my friend in his checkered pajamas, and he always would wear a flat cap like me, but he didn't have it. He had the big gauged earrings. I was just trying to get some pizza rolls, and I can hear the way, and then I can imagine the stuff that I didn't see. And then I can imagine her smoking cigarettes, writing a dozen letters to everybody, and I can imagine it happening. Yeah. It's sad. It's horrible. And I've been doing that for, I'll do that till the day I die. There's just nothing you can do to
And time heals all wounds. It's
Yeah.
like not if you're that affected, man. My friend dying in this mass shooting. It's never gonna go away.
Actually, no.
I can't.
I gotta challenge that phrase. I don't think time heals wounds.
Depends how big the wound.
Well,
I mean,
our friend Margaret had this awesome way to express it. It's more like when initial trauma happens, there's a big button in your brain, big button, and there's a ball bouncing around your brain. Button's huge.
sure.
The ball's gonna hit it all the time, and then time goes by, and all time does is make that button smaller, but it doesn't stop the ball from bouncing around. Eventually, that button's gonna get hit again, and you're just gonna be reminded of it.
Yeah.
It's gonna get easier, but it's never gonna go away.
Yeah, and I like that too. Like the button gets smaller because in November my button gets bigger again. Like there's parts where it like stretches out, like time and proximity. Like yeah, so it impacts. It's like when the snow or it feels a certain way. Like Christmas is coming or something like that. Like you have a real reaction in real time to smells, and sights, and sounds, and when it feels like the time, you just know it. Like the cold, wet rain. We've had that last night.
August is hard for me. August, yeah. Kind of like I definitely in August I definitely get those.
Yeah, that they don't seem to change. Like I feel like the months just there's like you have an August. I don't really have an August yet.
Yeah.
I've got I think we all have a September, that kind of impacted us socially. But like I got an October, and November, and a December.
Yep.
Of trauma, and it's like it's every year. So it's like Brittany's 4 years ago. The stuff that happened with the Barnes moving into next month, it was just last year. Peyton was 2 years ago. No, 1 year ago. So it's like it gets tough when it stacks up like that. That's a gloom stack, psychological stuff. But yeah, I like the idea of the button, and maybe you put another button over it or something. Like put a lot of more positive buttons.
It just makes you realize that a lot of these phrases we use are too dismissive. Like I know that the time heals all wounds, implying that the wound is calling it a wound, fairly correct either, because it's not healed. You'll die from it someday. It's not that kind of thing. So it's more of a reminder every now and then. It's more like not pre-existing, but more of like a sustained injury instead of a wound, because every now and then it'll flare up.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and I mean, when you get a wound, like the wound heals, but there's a scar. There's a scar, and sometimes there's like residual pain, and sometimes the older you get, it comes back in the cold. So
yeah.
You can glue a cracked vase together, but you still see the cracks everywhere.
Yeah.
Remember when it broke. That's tough. But yeah, I think the advice to that is just understand that it happened, and it's just part of your reality. And try to not. I mean, remember stuff like remember your dad, remember Brittany, and I talk very openly about it. Sometimes it's really hard for people. I got to be like, yeah, man, this is pretty intense because they haven't experienced this situation, and I can get so like just matter of fact with it. But you just. But like Brittany was a very educated person. Right. She loved history. She loved patterns. She was loud. She was funny. Brittany, you and I were so similar, and I like wish she had grown older and would get into streaming. She would have been so good at it. And I always wanted to be a bigger artist for her too, so that like I could pull her along and we could via collective before I knew a lot of people. She made shit
Right.
all the time, and I
wanted to
I was like a father figure, an uncle or something. We were like 12 years apart or something. She was like my little sister, and dude, it's just not gonna like ever get any better. The more
fact that
I say that, and I like compare her and say,
yeah,
I hate when I say that to myself. Like, she was like my little sister. It's
I just
something trips in my brain right here, and I can
feel that
del-
happening.
yeah, it's like, oh, that's hard, dude. Like, thank God I'm wearing my sunglasses. But no, I've dealt with it a lot, and I still like weep sometimes, you know, and get those feelings out with her, and you know, same with Abso. Like, if I start talking about it, like she's gonna just start. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay, fuck it, and I'll be like, oh, you do it, like quote some YouTube thing, you know, and because like that's how I always handle it, man. Like, laugh, you know.
Yeah.
You know, she used to laugh a lot, and I do things sometimes for her. I did it the other day, dude. Like, you know, the pink paint, and I held a rake the other day for a man. I realized this guy who was an old bachelor that I knew as a kid, and his rake. I go, this is all I have of you, buddy.
Let me just say
I
something real quick.
I remember you, friend. You know, it's very important to remember.
When it comes to Brittany's situation, reminded me about a important aspect of knowledge and education, that sometimes it can be a curse. I don't know what she wrote to you in her letters, but I do know.
Oh, it's fucking funny. I don't even know where it is, dude. She wrote to my wife. She's like, "You're an angel," and then she's like, "CP, you can have my Ninja Turtle TV."
Well, like, here's the.
It was fucking funny, dude.
Here's the thing, though. Like, that's all she wrote. That's interesting.
No.
How knowledge can be a curse too. I know I've learned some things about reality and life that if I'd be a happier person. Like, read.
Ignorance is bliss. Yeah, that's why I say
ignorance.
Get off the net.
Ignorance is neutral. Ignorance isn't bliss. It's ignorance allows you to just be. I don't know if it's bliss, but I do know that it allows you to just be. I can't react to something I don't know about. I can't react to something that I don't know what Brittany knew. How this relates to education for me is that sometimes I wish I had ignored some stuff, because I've gone down some suicide roads before, and a lot of it was because of knowing. A lot of it was because of having an idea of what reality actually is. It does rob you of hope sometimes, but there's strength in that too. Like, I don't want to just say education is bad. It also gives you a lot of things to be hopeful for, possibility, and the idea of like there being things bigger than yourself that are real. You can create something in your mind of something bigger than yourself, but having actual factual evidence of something real that's bigger than yourself, oh, there's no power greater.
Yeah, and sometimes that information I mentioned, like the philosophers, and be careful of how big those thoughts get. You know, like Brittany knew a lot, and it's like how big these things can get, and like that's why that's Inky.
Oh,
Inky, get down. Still with the paw. Don't be a dinky.
oh, you stopped biting. Here's a treat. All right. Sorry about that distraction. Yeah, you got those philosophers who ended up committing suicide. I wonder if they just knew too much.
Do you know what age that happens a lot?
30s? Your age?
A lot of time. People kill themselves a lot in their 40s, man. And I don't know what the actual statistics are, but from what I gathered in art and philosophy, that a lot of people get to a point and they lose it. And when I learned about Catholicism, it was from this teacher. His name was Joe, and I was like, I asked everybody everything. I go, so Joe, straight up, I go, why are you into this? Why do you do this? Like, he actually teaches it and stuff. And he goes, I was a philosopher, and I believed so much stuff that instead of eventually shooting myself in the head, I just picked a narrative and rolled with it. To hear a guy 50 years old say that, or maybe he was my age at the time, was like, oh, this stuff can drive you mad. It's like I think Darren Aronofsky's movie Pi, I always saw it as that. The guy had too much information and too many people coming, and he basically just gets lobotomized at the end. It's like, now I can finally rest. Because
Wow.
are we putting so much information and feeding a narrative, and at the detriment of our own souls, our own self-preservation?
Yeah.
Do you have to fix the world all by yourself, or can you just be a good example to your niece? What about like Jesse's kid, man? Yeah. Just like that's a weird. Sorry, I'm not no shade or judgment with Jesse and Margaret. You got a weird ass. You got a weird ass kid. You got a weird ass kid.
You did that kid, dude. Oh my god, I have a story.
That kid's so amazing, though. I love giving my input because I know she's a weird thinker like me, and I'm there for people like that. If you
have a point, because she had this homeless problem. This happened. Something happened with homelessness in the area.
What, their child was homeless?
No. She wasn't homeless.
Things are getting bad.
No, one of our neighbors had said something about the homeless, like coming to break into their home. Something like it put a lot of she couldn't sleep. This little girl couldn't sleep anymore because she thought a homeless man was going to break into their house. And I asked Margaret, I was like, hey, can I talk to Aaron about what homeless people are actually like? She was like, yeah. So one morning at breakfast, I sat down with Aaron and I said, hey, this is what happens. Like, they get scared, they end up losing all their money, they lose their families, houses, and they just want a safe place to sleep. That's really it. They just want a safe place to sleep, and some of them have to sleep in the woods. Your neighbor was right. They are out there in the woods. They don't want to hurt you. They just want to be safe. They want to be just as safe as everybody else. And that's all. They just want to feel secure. And whatever that means to them, they want to do it. And they're going to break into your house because they don't have any reason to. They have people like me who are going to help them. They just have to call the number, and we're going to help them out. And suddenly Aaron was now wanting to help the homeless, afraid of them. And I was like, wow, what a smart kid. But also, you have to give kids credit sometimes. They can understand things. You just have to explain it to them. But if you explain it to them, you immediately make them afraid instead of explaining the whole situation, because they're a kid, they're not going to understand the whole situation. Yeah, she understood. So sorry, you were going to say?
No, I find that really good what you did. I had a really nice uncle who would be very kind, and my friend Bud, who's still with us. He's in a nursing home now, but he told my dad a while ago. He goes, you know what the definition of love is? As far as how you interpret it, because that's another conceptual thing that's personal to everybody, like on American Dream or whatever. Love, he said, was kindness. That's what he said. And I was like, that's a really good answer. And my dad thought it was a good answer. And he smiled at every person, because he goes, I go, you're a good guy, bud. He goes, no, I don't know about that. I just didn't want to be dreadful whenever anyone ever looked at me. He made a commitment to be this shining thing. And even if he didn't feel that he was great, he had problems like anyone. he was an alcoholic for years too. And he felt, you could see books in his house where it's like, you know, he did a lot of work and he felt like really bad for all that stuff. But he understood that kindness was so important. And by the time I met him, he was retiring. And he taught me the beauty of opening a snapdragon and keeping a nice yard and just looking up at a tree and being like, look at how that tree grew into that other tree. Wow. And you imagine how long that took. And then I put a cable, but that cable, look, that's broken now. Wow. You know, he would just yeah, he would just be fascinated with stuff like that.
Dude,
And
that's the real knowledge right there.
He was so beautiful.
Just be
like
fascinated.
what he taught me, that keeping that youthful and that in the moment just focus of everything around. He's the reason why I spend a lot of time walking around looking at trees and appreciating the stars, and I grow snapdragons and lilies now. I made stone walls like him so that I value and I remember him, and I will for the rest of my life. So when I have bad days and I go outside, I might see one of those flowers and be like, I love you, bud. Like, you're a killer guy, and you're right. I can't be so dreadful in this world, and I know my problems suck, but you had a way better way, and I'm gonna aspire to be like that for you, buddy. And I learned that's some real education when you get into that.
Your story.
You're gonna make me fucking cry today. I gotta get out of here.
That's a beautiful end to the idea of why. That's why knowledge is important. It's about applying it to how to make the world a more beautiful place and understand what's beautiful and what. Like, you can't really know why something's beautiful without knowing more about it. That's such a great way to end this stream.
Yeah, thanks, man. And you and if you always learn that people were unkind, right?
Yeah.
And then one day somebody teaches you, no, they are kind. That's really changing. That flips so hard from good to bad. It's dude, you know, it came at the time when I was getting my GED. All that stuff was right there. Like the ABSA was right there.
Universe.
Bud was right there. Like, and because I listened and I was receptive, you have to be a sponge in a vessel, especially if you're broken. You just open it up, and you don't have to say anything, but just hear what people have to say. Take it home with you, and